Carolina, and KTNF in Minnesota. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com and follow me on all the socials under Choose Views. Thanks for being with us this morning. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, the great Patty Vasquez driving it home, Edwin Eisendrath with It's the Democracy, non-smart person. I ain't stupid. It's the Democracy, stupid. I always hate saying stupid, but there you go. And of course, Out Chicago and our other great shows and interviews on the weekends and in the evenings. Make sure you are plugging into the Politics Bar. My man Sean and Jody, I should say, my road dogs Sean and Jody, they really get it done with the Politics Bar, the Matt McNeil Show, and the Gailey Show. Please tune in to their broadcast and like and share everything that we do over at heartlandsignal.com, because that is the instruction. That's the rules of engagement. And speaking of that, of course, one of the top articles over there for former Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, independent, defends a U.S. Senate candidate, Dr. Syed, against misleading political attack ads. The attacks on Abdul for the time he worked with me as health director are just plain wrong. Good on you, former Mayor Mike Duggan, stepping up and speaking the truth there. But you'll see more of that type of information in our digital platform at heartlandsignal.com. Make sure you're making your way over there and liking and sharing. Thanks yesterday to Brad Smith for being with us, who's running for Congress and was a congressional seat in the 6th District in Wisconsin. It was great hanging with him and having him on. Dr. Deborah Howery, who is a former CDC medical officer. It's coming up on a year that she resigned in protest. She stood up and said, no, this is not the way I want to go. And now she's on doing great stuff at Yale Medical School. And Sarah Jones, of course, the managing editor and co-publisher of Politicus USA, was with us. And it's always great to have Sarah providing us with some of her updates. Her writing is so well done over at Substack and the Politicus USA. So make sure you check out our folks on our previous interviews. On today's show, of course, we've got a lineup of Tom Moore, Senior Fellow for Democracy and Government at the Center for American Progress and former Chief of Staff to Federal Election Commission Chair Ellen Weintraub. Ian Cameron, former ABC News producer and executive producer as well. Lisa Stark, former ABC News reporter. They will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour today to talk about what's happening with our media and our messaging. And then Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. As you all know, Kate is one of the leading, if not the leading, immigration attorneys, certainly in Texas, if not throughout the rest of the country. She'll be with us. And she's also the CEO of the Lincoln-Goldfinch law firm in Austin, Texas. So looking forward to all three of our guests this morning, and of course, bringing you a little bit of Choose Views news after the first break, as well as something to chew on. What can I tell you? I gotta. It may surprise some folks what I'm going to say in that my little segment in the next break, but I got to say it because it's been on my mind, and I want to make sure that folks kind of know where I stand on this and how I think we've got to be as we go forward. So we'll get to that when we come back from the first break. Today's question of the day centers around this situation with Canada. I've always been, I think, a pretty neighborly guy. I make sure I know about my neighbors, who my neighbors are, and do my best to take care of them when I can, and be there for them when they may need me, and not be disruptive. Take care of my piece of the neighborhood, which is my home where my wife and I live, and all the things that go with that, and make sure that I'm looking out. And sometimes I probably am very representative of the Progressive insurance commercial in terms of not being your parents. I am the guy that's going to walk down the street and look at stuff, Devin. I am the guy that's going to walk around the corner and make sure that Mrs. Jones over here is that, her gate's not open. And the drill. If I lived in Devin's neighborhood and I saw that something didn't look right in the parking lot where he parks his car, I might go, hey, Devin, so I can be that neighbor from the I could be that characterization in the Progressive commercial about don't be your parents, because I want to care about my neighbors and I want to, have them to care about me. I'm not always in their business, but they know I'm there for them when they need me. So where am I going with this in terms of the question of the day? I think it's just absolutely disgusting that our number one or two, depending on how you look at it, trade partner, i.e. Canada, is having to deal with this knucklehead in the White House. Every time we turn it around, now we got new tariffs. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. They are, it's not like we got to get on a plane and go across an ocean or a body of water to get to one of our political allies. They're right there. We share a border with them. So many of people that have come to this country, that have come to Canada, have done some wonderful things for this country in media, in sports, in business, on and on. And yet this fool in the White House, it almost brings me to tears to think that we would be treating our neighbor like this right now. And so as much as this is commentary about how I feel about what Trump is doing with regard to Canada, the question of the day is, what do you think is the real reason that Trump is levying the latest tariffs on Canada? 50% tariffs on Canada. What do you think is the real reason that he's doing it? And frankly, continues to do it. I want to know what you guys think about that, because I think it's disgusting that we would treat a neighbor in this way, that we literally share like the neighborhood lawn with because of the border. We literally do. I've crossed the Canadian the border into Canada a number of times in my lifetime, most recently last October. Why would we treat our neighbor this way? So I want to know what you guys think. What is the real reason? What is the real reason, in your opinion, that Trump is levying these 50% tariffs on Canada? Let me know what your thoughts are by giving us a call at 773-763-9278, sending us a text to that same number. I will do my best to get those read today because I know you guys are going to have some thoughts about it. And by all means, go to our Facebook page and let us know there by leaving your comments, because I do want to know what you guys think is the real reason behind it. Because there's no economic benefit at all. But I'll leave that alone. I'll let you guys respond without tipping the scale too much on that. So give us your thoughts in that space. Let's take a quick break a little bit earlier, because I want to have some time to talk about something else that I got to lean into with something to chew on. 773-763-9278 is the number. I'm Richard Chew. Keep it locked in. We'll be right back with more of Chew's Views.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or are covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Chew's Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chew. Thanks for being with us this morning. A couple of quick Chew's Views news items on this August 25th, 2026. California is canceling the Paramount talks over the alleged leaks. The Attorney General has called off the scheduled settlement talks with Paramount, accusing the studio of bad faith leaks. California is one of the 12 states suing to block Paramount's proposed $111 billion merger with Warner Brothers Discovery. AG, Attorney General Rob Bonta, released a statement alleging Paramount leaked and misrepresented the details of a Friday meeting, demonstrating a lack of good faith. The Wall Street Journal reports, per unnamed sources, that Bonta wants Paramount to divest in some cable channels and commit to maintaining Warner Brothers as a separate studio. Paramount has threatened to leave the state. Wow. I'll take my toys and go home. That's what I'm trying to say. Harvard's new boot camp uses AI avatars of actual instructors. Harvard Business School is offering a course taught by artificial intelligence avatars. Per the New York Times, the faculty members have volunteered to create clones of themselves for the 8-week entrepreneurial boot camp called HBS Foundry. In the $699 program, students can rehearse for pitches and board meetings with virtual guides who are accessible at any time. Harvard admits roughly 900 MBA students per year. And of course, these AI-generated videos could bolster the university's educational services. Walmart is debuting a new clothing line amid slowing sales growth. They're launching a line of affordable women's clothing in a bid to appeal to younger customers and re-energize some of their sales growth, according to the Wall Street Journal. The majority of items in Walmart's new Scenario brand, which includes blouses and faux leather bags, will cost less than $25. The retailer's push into fashion comes as it reported the slowest sales growth in 6 years. Apple hopes to rekindle excitement with a foldable smartphone. And anticipation is building Apple's first foldable iPhone ahead of its scheduled debut next month. The malleable phone, reportedly priced at more than $2,000, could be the tech giant's biggest device in years. Early testers are praising the expanded iPad-like display, which is capable of showing 2 apps side by side. So that debut is taking place next month. And last but not least, going back to my points earlier, Canada is gearing up for a lengthy trade war with our country. This impasse with Canada could drag on for months, driving up prices for Americans and what they pay for all kinds of products. Sources tell Bloomberg that the government and Prime Minister Mark Carney doesn't see talks restarting before the U.S. midterm elections and is preparing a long-term aid package for Canadian businesses hurt by the turmoil. Across the border, Americans could end up paying more for paper sources, dairy, and alcoholic beverages. Meanwhile, Donald Trump yesterday threatened that as today, that car auto parts are that are imported from Canada will also see these tariffs go up in January. Why hurt our neighbors, y'all? That's the question of the day. What do you think is the real reason that Trump is levying these tariffs, these latest 50% tariffs on Canada? I'd like to hear from you guys and what you think. For those listening to WCPT today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Turi Ryder will be in for Joan Esposito, and her guests are David Levine, professor of law at University of San Francisco, David Hochberg, vice president of lending at Team Hochberg at Homeside Financial, and Illinois Congressman Bill Foster will be joining Turi, as well as Professor William Muck, professor of political science at North Central College. Live, Local, and Progressive weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. A little quick story. Last week, I was out and about with my wife, and I saw this gentleman kind of acknowledge me from across the room and couldn't see particularly well who it was. And then later on, he came over and said, "Hey, Richard, it's William Muck." And I was like, "Oh, Professor Muck, how are you?" So it's good to see him, and we wish him well. And a good segment today with Turi on Jones' show. Also, for listeners here on WCPT tonight, the Driving It Home, Paul Shivari will be in for Patty Vasquez with guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal. And their guests include Paul Nolly, candidate for Congress in the 16th District in Illinois, Illinois State Rep Diane Blair Sherlock, Democrat that's representing the 46th District, and Trey Savage, editor-in-chief of Non-Doc Media. That is Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, the Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, and YouTube, as well as Facebook. And you guys know tomorrow's going to be Congresswoman and Kurt Mullet. So that's Congresswoman Robin Kelly will be joining us in studio, and we'll be talking also with Congresswoman Nikki Baczynski, and it's Wednesday, so Kurt Mullet will be landing his Jet here with us. We'll bring you back to the speed on this in a little bit of a reminder. All right. With the few minutes that we have, I want to talk about a topic that is more than just the elephant in the room. It is one that has become, we've become more increasingly aware of a frustration point that's taking place with Democrats. So I want to lean into this in the best way that I can. So today's segment of Something to Chew On focuses on leadership with the Democratic Party, specifically that of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Weekend before this past weekend, he was on Meet the Press, and I believe it was Meet the Press, and he spoke about his dislike for Medicare for All right now, and that we need to fix our healthcare system and then move in that direction, which I don't disagree with. I think we've got, as I said when I talked with Kurt last Wednesday, that there's 3 things that we can do right now to fix healthcare in a way that takes some of the financial pressures off of Americans, and that's by closing the copay gap, the deductible gap, and eliminating the deniability. We do those things right now. That's going to change the game for millions of Americans right now. That's something we can get to right now. Medicare for All is going to take a little bit of time. There's some tax structural things that's got to be changed. The list, there's a list of things that we've got to deal with there. But I'm with Jeffries and others, not just him, that say we can get to Medicare for All, but let's deal with the immediate problem, which is the 3 things that are costing people immediate money. I know that from my experience in the industry, years of experience. That's the first, those 3 things, if we can knock those out immediately, it's a game changer. Okay. That being said, and I'll put it to you this way. I have stood with Hakeem Jeffries and supported him because I've said from this perspective, like I have with Schumer, as minority leaders, they don't have the numbers to change things by the numbers. They have the ability to fight like hell, and they should. And I've said many times in my critique of them, strongly worded letters don't get it done. But they have to keep fighting, and they have been fighting. So let me get this out of the way first for those who are going to fill up the keyboard with, there he goes again, going after Democratic leadership. I'm not going after Democratic leadership. I have said for the longest time, I support Schumer and I support Jeffries. I understand that they don't have the numbers to change things, but that doesn't mean that they don't fight. So let me be perfectly clear there. What I will say is this latest situation with regard to Hakeem Jeffries meeting with Jared Kushner, I got a major issue with that. And it's actually bothered me the last 12 hours. And I'll tell you the reason why. It is a lack of judgment in this moment that I fault Hakeem Jeffries for. Frankly, I could care less about what the content of the meeting was. The fact that he had the meeting this time. See, momentum, in my opinion, is extremely important in any event, anything that you're trying to win. If momentum's important in life, simple example, we're all trying to manage our health as best possible, the phrase, lose weight, whatever. But we get some momentum with it. We keep that momentum going. It becomes a little bit easier to do the thing. Okay. We have a tremendous amount of momentum right now as a progressive liberal Democratic Party, all the 10 included. So don't do things that break momentum or give people the impression that you're breaking momentum. And the mistake that I believe that Jeffries made by even meeting with Jared Kushner was that it affects, it doesn't break, but it affects the momentum based on the optics that Democrats have right now. It brings into question his judgment to meet with someone that his father-in-law put a sombrero on a meme about you. You don't meet with that person. If it were me, and I'm gonna put the asterisk out there in a moment, with the short amount of time that we have. If it were me, I would have made it public that, guess what? Jared Kushner came to me, America. He wants to sit down and have a meeting. And I told him no. You know why? Because Jared Kushner's actions have been harmful to all of the country. So I told him no, I'm not going to meet with him. That would have been good judgment. That would have been leadership. And that would have kind of been a slap in the face to Jared and all the rest. But he didn't do that. So I asked myself the question, why would you not do that? Why would you not take the position that says, I'm going to keep the momentum going? I'm going to speak publicly about what this dude tried to do, which is to hold a meeting with me when he's tried to hurt members of this of our caucus and citizens of the country. I would have said, he asked me and I told him no. That's what I would have made public. To then not have to go back and do a cleanup on aisle 7 to say that what he said in that video that he posted, that, we're not going to let billionaire, however it went down. I mean, I don't remember. I got tired of watching it after about 10 seconds because my thinking was, why in the hell did you put yourself in that position in the first place? You're the minority leader of the House of Representatives. You get to call some shots. And although you may not be in charge numerically, you do get to determine who you meet with. And I can't understand, and I don't need to understand why you would have met with Jared Kushner, irrespective of him being an elected official or whatever. I know people are going down that path. It doesn't matter. Even if he were an elected official, you don't have to meet with anybody. You choose to meet with people. So either your staff failed you or the people around you failed you. You failed yourself in this moment. But that's not a meeting, Minority Leader Jeffries, that you should have had. Now, do I know what the caucus is going to do in terms of voting for you as the next majority leader if we win the House? I don't know that. I will say that there's some names that are pretty strong names that people are putting out there. Ted Lieu, for example, Joe Neguse, Catherine Clark, Pete Aguilar. I don't know if they would have had better judgment in this moment than you, but I do know that this is a moment where you did not have to make that decision. But last thing I'm going to say on this, that still, in terms of judgment, doesn't give one American the right to not vote for Democrats in the midterms. As Mary Pat says, who's a caller to this show, don't try to find excuses and reasons to not vote. Don't do that. Don't let the decision by Jeffries to meet with Kushner give you an excuse to still not get out and vote, because that would then be on you, and that would then be your not the best use of judgment. So people who have an issue with me saying this about Jeffries, bring it on. But in this moment, he made not the best decision, and I can't support that. But what I do support is making sure that you guys know that no matter what he did in this decision, we still have to get out and vote in the midterms. There you go. Something to chew on. We'll take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chew. Keep it locked in. We'll be right back with more of Chew's Views.
One in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Many of our U.S. veterans and service challenges, mental health struggles, housing obstacles, employment, food insecurity, and social isolation, to name just a few. I'm Bob Woodruff. My family and I started the Bob Woodruff Foundation in 2006 after I sustained a life-threatening injury while reporting from Iraq. Our service members had my back that day, and we need to have theirs now more than ever. At the Bob Woodruff Foundation, we raise awareness about the tough challenges veterans and military families face and invest in solutions to help support them in the next chapter of their lives. And with one solution comes the next. We solve a housing situation, we increase employment opportunities. We solve employment problems, we address food insecurity. We solve food insecurity, we impact physical and mental health issues. Learn more about our work at bobwoodrufffoundation.org/success.
I never considered myself to be a heavy drinker. At first, I only drank with friends, then to get through the day. I hit rock bottom when I realized I was choosing alcohol over my family. That's when I made the call. With my doctor's help, I was diagnosed with alcohol use disorder. Now, I'm getting to the root of my addiction and finding better ways to cope.
Mental health care works when you make the call. Visit mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm staff meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Lows level off around 58, overnight under mainly clear skies, south winds around 5 miles per hour. A blend of clouds and sun, Tuesday 80. Lows around 65, Tuesday night. Low 80s Wednesday and Thursday, with a chance of thunderstorms Wednesday. A peek at the extended shows, 81 Friday, 82 Saturday, and 85 on Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu, and thank you for hanging out with us this morning. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think the real reason that Trump is levying these latest 50% tariffs on Canada? Let me know. Send us a text or give us a call at 773-763-9278. Also, go to our Facebook page and let us know your thoughts there. A few weeks ago, we had this gentleman on who's a senior fellow for democracy at the government at the Center for American Progress. And I'll use a phrase. He's been in the cauldron. He knows what it's like to be working in an environment where the decisions that are made by leaders affect large swaths of people. And being part of the election commission and working with Ellen Weintraub, former chair Ellen Weintraub, had to definitely put him in some interesting meetings and some conversations. With us this morning again is Tom Moore, that senior fellow that I just spoke of. Good morning, Tom. Welcome back.
Richard.
Views.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's always good to see you, man. I appreciate you taking some time to chat and all. Wow, so much has happened. It's funny because, the weekend goes by and we all go on Monday, we go, okay, what happened? What are we dealing with now? But in recent weeks, some ballot initiatives have come about, and there's been a number of things that you guys at the organization have really been leaning into. Let's start off by talking about this Montana plan, ballot initiative, and what that means when it comes to voting.
Yeah. So this is an initiative that's going on the ballot in Montana this fall, and it basically just withdraws the power of corporations to spend in politics. Cases like Citizens United said you can't regulate, you can't restrict, you can't pass rules against, forbidding this kind of thing. But none of those cases ever said that you have to create corporations that have this list of powers that includes political spending power. So the Montana plan just kind of plucks that power off the list and says, all right, businesses and nonprofits and unions and everybody, you can do everything you need to do, but this is no longer something that you're set up to do. And it's moving forward. They had to gather 30,000 signatures. They gathered 50,000. Wow. And the Secretary of State just qualified it for the ballot the other day. There are a couple legal challenges that could happen between now and November. Nothing serious. It's wildly popular with Montana voters, as this idea is throughout the country.
What will the legal challenges be, or what do you think they might be?
Well, we're seeing this already. There's a lawsuit against a similar law that's been passed in Hawaii. Basically, it's just, this violates Citizens United. Can't do it. It's like, okay, actually, honestly, we all read Citizens United before we started this, and that was kind of our starting point, and we, steered pretty clear of it. That was kind of the design from day one. So, they're basically saying like, oh, it's just a regular campaign finance restriction, and there's this kind of interesting thing that not giving something the capacity to do something, is that the same thing as banning them from doing it? And it's like, it's not. I mean, it's like one is a building exercise and the other one is a restricting exercise. One is positive, one is negative, and they are very different. And one of the most clear things in American law is this part of corporate law where the Supreme Court has said, this is all up to the states. They get to set the powers. As long as there are probably some outlying examples, like you only have the power to hire black people, or something. Okay, that's not going to work. But as long as you're not making any kind of viewpoint-based discrimination or anything like that, the states can pretty much do what they want.
Yeah. So yesterday, and I don't know how much you want to lean into this, but you can put the brakes on when you want to. But yesterday, the Supreme Court decided to hear the case around Donald Trump's desire to use executive power as it relates to mail-in ballots with voting. And there's some back end of this that could create further challenges down the road. But give us your observation in terms of, maybe not so much your opinion, because I know that you stay away from that, but give us your observation of what this may mean. I guess the positive or the negative, the positive and the negative of this decision to take it in the first place. Because I was hoping, as many people were, that they weren't even going to hear this case.
Yeah, it is. It's not said. Basically, it was John Roberts didn't squash it, where he could have, and so basically, it's not an indication where the full court's going to go, but it was basically saying, look, this is not as it's not as such a dire emergency that we need to stop it the way it's been stopped. But this is pretty bad. They're trying to require states to give them lists of voters. And then the Postal Service is saying, well, we're only going to deliver ballots that are addressed to those voters. And I'm not afraid to express an opinion on this. This is one of the ways that the Trump administration has just kind of degraded all these different things in the United States government, from the Justice Department, from the State Department, to the U.S. Postal Service, which, I mean, the one thing that we all know, everybody knows, is if you drop something in the mail, the Postal Service will, no matter what the weather, no matter anything else, will deliver it.
And it might take a whole longer time than you wanted it to, but they're going to do their dead level best to get it delivered. So keep going, Tom.
Absolutely. And for 200 years, that's been the case, and this is the Postal Service saying, oh, wait a minute. No, if it looks like a ballot and that name's not on our list, we're not going to accept it at all. And that's just, it's like, what are you doing? The Postal Service is not a gatekeeper on, what gets delivered and what doesn't get delivered.
Yeah.
So it's pretty bad. And I'm reasonably confident that the Supreme Court will see it that way. But, we'll see what states can do to get around it. And I think,
do you think, Tom, that so they hear the case. Do you think that they will, I'm trying to figure out how I want to ask this question, because there's so much that pops into my head with this, but do you think that they will, none of us knows how they might rule on it, what the numbers will be in terms of, the 9 justices, but do you think that they'll look at this and see that there's no evidence to show what Trump is trying to present that there's evidence for? Because most of the time when it comes to cases that go in front of any judge, part of the requirement is that there's evidence from the plaintiff's side or the accuser's side, depending on what type of case it is, that makes it clear. I mean, a good example is what happened with the reflecting pool. Janine Pirro said, and I don't want to drag you down the legal thing, but Janine Pirro finally realized we don't have enough evidence to even take this case to court, yet alone get it prosecuted, and yet alone get a conviction.
Yeah.
So there's no evidence.
Yeah.
With the Supreme Court when it comes to this. Sorry.
No, that's good. And one of the things that we are seeing in the system is that, like, people can say whatever they want in front of cameras, people can say whatever they want on Twitter, but you get in front of a judge and you really do have to bring the evidence. And whether it's the reflecting pool case or this at the Supreme Court, they can't just assert all this fraud with mail-in ballots, which does not exist. They're going to have to actually say, like, look, here are the facts, and there's kind of a step before that too. Like, here's our authority to set this rule, and here's why it's not arbitrary and capricious, and here's why all these different things. And it's not so much do they like mail-in balloting and so forth. It's more, does the federal government have the authority? Does the Postal Service have the authority to stop accepting mail that it doesn't like, that the president doesn't like? I think
that goes through the states.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
No, that's the. Postal Service shouldn't be making those decisions at all. They don't open your mail. They don't read your mail. So if an envelope goes out and it's got a ballot in it, the Postal Service should not care.
Right. That's the part where it becomes a privacy issue, and then I would think that the pushback, if any, is that it gets into that conversation. No,
absolutely. Yeah, those are really tough statutes, right? It's forever. It's been the law that if you're a Postal Service employee who opens mail, it's like you go to prison.
It's a federal crime.
Those are serious crimes.
Yeah, it's not even that, and that's the weird part right now, because I think that what the Trump administration, they've continuously shown their hand that it is a partisan effort. There's no bipartisan conversation to this, and ironically, the states that are anteing up their information seem to be the states that are on. I don't know how to say it other than they're the red, voting states in a federal election.
Yeah, and what's kind of odd about Trump's crusade against mail-in voting, he votes by mail consistently, but also it's just like it is something that if you really kind of drill down on it, all of these things that they're trying with the SAVE Act, all of these things would quite possibly hurt Republican turnout more than it would hurt Democratic turnout. And I think the kind of lefty-leaning democracy groups who are actually being very they don't care. They're just like, no, these restrictions are bad. We don't care who it hurts more, Republicans or Democrats. It hurts America, and
right.
We're not going to fight against this. But it is interesting that if of all this stuff happened that they want to do, it would probably depress Republican turnout more than it would Democratic turnout.
Well, and that's I think about this in terms of, I was talking about our neighbors and this whole situation with Canada and the tariffs and all, but I was thinking about, I don't know what all of my neighbors do in terms of their voting up and down my street. I have an assumption, but I don't know. But if in Illinois, in Chicago, they vote red or blue, that's not something. If they vote red or blue and they vote by mail, it hurts everybody on the street, based on just looking at the math and not the who's checking somebody else's mail. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. So, Tom, you've got you talked about Hawaii. You mentioned Hawaii in relationship to the question about Montana. Re-enlighten everybody about what's happening in Hawaii when it comes to Citizens United and corporate money being thrown into political elections.
Yeah. So the folks in Hawaii saw what was happening in Montana. They've been working on this ballot initiative for about 2 years. Jeff Mangan and his group, the Transparent Election Initiative, just been working night and day. They saw what was happening in Montana and said, "Oh, we should do that." Introduced the bill. There were 6 bills floating around for a while. They settled down on one, and it kind of made its way through the system and caught on fire at a certain point. And this was right before we spoke in June.
Right.
Made it all the way through. Governor Josh Green signed it into law in May. And it's going to take effect next July, so July
2027. Okay,
which means that the legislature gets one more shot at it next spring to maybe change it up a little bit. We'll see, but it is the law in Hawaii, and it's going to be implemented in the middle of next year. There were a bunch of other states where bills were introduced that were actually. It's weird. We're still finding states where bills were introduced because they didn't call us up and tell us. They just copied off of Hawaii or copied off of Montana and introduced their own. We're like, oh, that's great. Thanks. But I expect next spring we're going to have bills in at least 30 states that would do this. Yeah. So it is for something that
30 states.
Yeah.
30.
And this is for an initiative that the Center for American Progress just announced last September. this is brand spanking new. But I think what that indicates is there's this hunger for something to actually do something about our situation. People hate our politics, and to the extent that this could really shift things, I think people are very, very hungry for that.
One of the things that I'm asked often by listeners, and we'll talk about that. I'll say this. We'll take a break and come back and talk about it. Is the Electoral College, and you guys have come up with not necessarily a fix for that per se, as well as a fix for Citizens United, but kind of the workaround, but especially with Citizens United. And that's something I really want to have our listeners hear a little bit from you on when we come back. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu. Keep it locked in. I'll be right back with more of Chu's Views and Tom Moore. We'll be right back.
Spina bifida is a common birth defect, and everyone with spina bifida from childhood through adulthood deserves to flourish. The Spina Bifida Association is creating a future where this is more than just possible. It's inevitable. We're advancing clinical care and shaping innovative research. With your help, we'll build the future that people with spina bifida deserve. Join us at sbaa.org. That's sbaa.org. This message is sponsored by the Spina Bifida Association of America.
Maybe it was a family vacation or a school field trip. But there you were, standing in awe at a national park. We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Today, tomorrow, forever. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
All right, guys, welcome back to Chu's Views. Thanks for being with us this morning. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu, and with us this morning is one of the leading voices, Senior Fellow for Democracy and Government at the Centers for American Progress, Tom Moore. Tom, before we went to the break, kind of left you with this thought about two things: Electoral College and Citizens United. But let's first talk about Citizens United and the work that you guys are doing in terms of, I call it the workaround, and maybe that's not the best wording to use, but explain to our listeners a little bit more about the work that you're doing there and how you've put together this corporate power reset and what that means for the U.S. Because so many people are saying, we got to get rid of Citizens United. Your belief is there's a different way to approach getting us back on track or moving in a better direction.
Yeah. So to get rid of Citizens United, we would either have to do a constitutional amendment to the federal Constitution or get a new Supreme Court, a lot of new members of the Supreme Court to overturn Citizens United. Neither one of this is going to happen, most likely. I mean, a lot of good folks are working on constitutional amendments, but that is a tough road, and that is decades to get that done, if at all.
And would also require there'd have to be standing by a particular group that could take that as a case. Would we be able to skip through the federal court system, or how would that work?
Yeah, so to do a federal constitutional amendment, there's two different ways to do it. The one that we've done every time so far is basically 2/3 of each House of Congress votes on this resolution and then sends it out to the states, and 3/4 of the states have to approve it. Usually, they've been putting time limits on it, so it's like within 7 years or something like that. That's a really high bar. I mean, that is, 3/4 of the states is a gigantic number of states. We haven't even hit the first part of it yet. We haven't even gotten it out to the states yet. We don't have a constitutional amendment that will pass 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House. So that's kind of, people are working hard on it, but that's still at step one.
Right.
And in the last 10 years, or since Citizens United was decided, that the court has only gone even further in that direction. And what was a 5-4 decision then would probably be a 6-3 decision today. So that's not the way to go. And the decisions that the court has made since Citizens United in 2010, is like, anytime you try to do a regulation, we're going to look at it as hard as possible, and we're probably going to strike it. So if you're trying to, if there's something out there that has the authority to do it, and you're saying no, we're going to regulate that, then we're going to come down as hard on that as we can. Which is why we went to this different approach. It's kind of a workaround, what we like to say is that it makes Citizens United irrelevant. And the idea is, okay, we're not going to go with regulations, set all that aside. We're not going to go to campaign finance law at all, set all that aside. We are going to go to the corporation law statute, the thing that actually creates corporations in this state. And what every state's law says, more or less, is that we create corporations. We can change them up at any time. Everybody's got the power to do anything a human being can do. No out-of-state corporation can do anything in the state that a domestic corporation can't do. Those things together are the ingredients of this. And basically, all the states have been giving out this power to all the corporations for the last 100 years, but they don't have to. They were competing with each other. They were in the early 20th century. They're all competing with each other. New Jersey kind of jumped out ahead and gave everybody everything. And then all the other states were like, oh, all right, fine. Matched it. And then Delaware drank their milkshake. All the big companies are incorporated in Delaware. And then everybody just stuck with it. And just like, okay, well, everybody's got all the powers. They can do whatever they want everywhere. We're allowing Montana allows a Delaware corporation to do whatever it wants in Montana. Okay, fine. We're all agreed on all this. And that's what it's been for the last 100 years, but it doesn't have to be that way. And what Montana is doing, what Hawaii has done, and what 30 other states will consider doing next year is just to say, like, hey, we create you, we define you, you're out there messing up our elections, and we're going to stop you from doing that because we're in charge. And it's a very different way of thinking about corporations than we've been thinking about them, like for you and I, our whole lives. But that really is how it goes. Like the at the end of the day, the people in each state are in charge of what corporations do in their state, what they are in their state.
Yeah, and that gives so much more power. I hate to say power to the people, but it literally does give power, because that then starts, if I get this right in terms of the through line, that starts with the state legislature or legislators and the legislature having the ability to then define what's inside of the documents required to define a corporation. Am I going in the right direction on this?
Yeah, it's not the charter itself, it's the law behind the charter. It's
right.
Like here's the menu of things that we'll give you if you want to be a corporation. We can set the items on that menu.
Mm-hmm. And then that by having the right people elected to office gives the voters the power to say, this is how do you stand, or where do you stand, ma'am or sir, on how corporations should be determined.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So in many ways that can become a ballot initiative as well, in terms of local groups determining this is what it should look like and what they should be allowed to do or not do. And that if it's a ballot initiative, potentially that gives the voters a little bit more of a say in what's inside of the law. Am I reaching on that or no?
Yeah, no. And in 23 states in D.C., voters can do this. Illinois is one of those states, but actually the restrictions on ballot issues are really pretty severe.
Right. We know.
I think it can only be a constitutional amendment. I think, and it's very limited what the topics are. So in Illinois, if you were to do this, it would be most likely the legislature, and it would probably most likely be a legislature that was frightened by people running against them who said, I'm going to vote for this, and this guy won't. So we'll see how that goes.
Good point. Good analysis. I get asked this question a lot, and I want to get your thoughts on this. And it has to do with where we are with the Electoral College. And I know that indirectly you touch on this in terms of the things that you guys review, but because it is part of democracy, it's part of our government, it's part of how we function for all this time. I've said that the way to change that is we have to change some other things first leading up to that, i.e. we've got to have we have to have, or there has to be the will of Congress to get involved in the first place. And if it doesn't start there, and if there isn't enough energy there, right, left, or in the middle, it's not going to happen that we, quote, get rid of the Electoral College. But give us your thoughts there. I know that's a complicated one, but I knew that I was going to ask you this question this morning.
No, it's good. I've got to have my coffee before you call. Yeah. So the Electoral College is the way we elect the president, and there's 538 votes among the states in D.C., and whoever gets 270 of them after a presidential election wins. Doesn't always mean that the person who got the most votes wins. Hillary Clinton got more votes than Donald Trump did in 2016, but the way they were distributed, he got more Electoral College votes. It is not a great way to do it. And actually the origins of it are pretty ugly. It was, buying off slave states when we were getting the Constitution written, and, there's not a good lot of good policy reasons for it. To change it, again, would take a constitutional amendment, two-thirds of the members of Congress, and 3/4 of the states, which would mean you've got more than 1/4 of the states who like what they're doing just fine right now. So I know that's going to be a hard one to pass as a constitutional amendment. One thing that has come forward, though, is called this National Popular Vote Compact.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing about the way the Electoral College works is it's up to the states to determine how they actually cough up these votes. So I'm going to get this right. I think it's Nebraska. They actually say, like, look, we're not going to just do winner take all. Like right now, like in California, if you win the presidential election by one vote, you get all of the electoral votes of that state.
Right.
I think it's Maine and Nebraska that actually say, like, no, you've got to win the congressional district and this and that. And they kind of split it up a little bit so you can actually pick off a couple in there. But if a state wanted to say, like, we're going to flip a coin and give it to whoever wins the coin toss, that is constitutional.
Mm-hmm.
Your voters would probably not like that very much, but it is constitutional. So the state can set whatever rule it wants to determine who gets how its electoral college votes are going to be cast. So this National Popular Vote Compact says, like, all right, how about this? Why don't you pass a kind of a law that will trigger when enough states altogether do it and say, like, look, whoever wins the popular vote in the presidential election, we're going to cast all of our electoral college votes for that person. And that would, the electoral college would still be sitting in the Constitution.
Right.
No one has amended it. Congress, who isn't going to do anything, hasn't done anything. But it is a way around it because basically the rules for how those electoral college voters are set has changed. And I've always admired that idea because it's like, all right, how do you get it done when you can't get it done directly? And it's
workarounds have their place, I guess you could say, or not taking the beast on head on is sometimes a way to go. Yeah. Fascinating as always, Tom. As we wrap up real quickly, how can folks find you? How can they follow you and get involved real quickly?
I'm at Center for American Progress. We're at AmericanProgress.org. All kinds of good reports there, including some the president doesn't want you to read. And we're just doing our research and putting the facts out there and trying to help democracy everywhere we can.
Absolutely. Tom Moore, thanks for being with us again. It's always, a pleasure to have you on and get that professorial knowledge coming to us when we have you on the show. So thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye now. All right, guys, what can I tell you? Like I said before, Tom always brings us just such good information, and the best way to find it and have it be part of, your lexicon of information is to go to centersforamericanprogress.org, as he said, and you'll find all the good stuff there. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu. Keep it locked in right here. We'll be right back with more of Chu's Views.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container, because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
A message from Tia Mowry, actress and Fair Celebrity Ambassador.
Game day isn't staged. It's lived. It's the shopping, the cooking, the laughter. For families managing food allergy, that same spirit of preparation means everything. Because food allergy isn't a lifestyle. It's a serious, life-threatening disease that can change everything in a moment. But being ready changes the story. It's knowing the signs, having a plan, and carrying epinephrine everywhere life takes you. Epinephrine is the only treatment that can stop a severe food allergy reaction known as anaphylaxis. It works quickly to reverse the symptoms and can save lives. As families and friends gather for the big game, we see what community looks like. It's one built on awareness, care, and love in action. Because readiness doesn't take away the risk. It brings back the joy. When you're ready to act, you're ready to live.
Visit foodallergy.org/ready-to-act to learn more.
For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional-grade products you need, delivered when and where you need them. Call and click Grainger.com or just stop by.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The U.S.-Canada trade war is deepening. Sources tell AP Canada will announce retaliatory tariffs Tuesday. Julie Walker reports that follows President Trump declaring Canadian leaders need to fall in line or they'll face far worse.
In a post threatening a 50% tariff on cars, auto parts, and steel starting next year on top of the 50% he began imposing on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods Saturday. In response, Canada vowing to retaliate with its own 50% tariffs on U.S. goods, including steel, dairy, and clothing, starting September 8th. Vice President J.D. Vance, stumping in Maine.
Canada allows itself to be used as a backdoor for Chinese goods.
We have all we need right here.
Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Building at home and diversifying our trade abroad. That's not plan B. It's been our plan A from the start.
I'm Julie Walker.
The U.S. has announced new sanctions on Iran, warning other countries to sever financial ties. In Nevada, crews have 27% containment on that wildfire near Reno, and in Worcester, Massachusetts, remains found near a hospital are believed to be those of a woman sought in the killing of her police officer husband.
Observing a deceased body in the woods.
Worcester Police Chief Paul Saucier says a final ID was pending.
We believe this person to be Karen Solomon.
Kurt Solomon had served 31 years with the Worcester Police Department, while his wife Karen was the co-founder of First Help, a nonprofit that advocates for the mental health of first responders. She was seen on doorbell camera footage on August 18th, walking down the street just minutes after police found Kurt Solomon's body at the couple's house, mortally injured with a sharp object. Investigators say a handgun was found near Karen's body, and it was not a Worcester Police Service weapon.
We believe this case is a tragic murder-suicide.
Audio courtesy WCVB. I'm Jennifer King.
This is AP News. In Santa Clarita, California, don't be alarmed if you hear this.
The grunts and hoots come from the gibbon, one of the rarest and most critically endangered primates on Earth. And the Gibbon Conservation Center north of Los Angeles has been rescuing gibbons for more than 50 years. Director Gabby Scholar tries to explain when gibbons vocalize, like when they're playing, but she can't seem to get a word in edgewise.
There are different calls that have different meanings. So this is their territorial song, and it can change during their lifetime. Like the young ones sing a female part.
The center cares for about 40 gibbons across 5 species. Scholar's long-term goal is to raise more money to build larger enclosures and build an education center for visitors. I'm Donna Warder.
More on this story at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm staff meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Lows level off around 58 overnight under mainly clear skies, south winds around 5 miles per hour. A blend of clouds and sun Tuesday, 80. Lows around 65 Tuesday night. Low 80s Wednesday and Thursday with a chance of thunderstorms Wednesday. A peek at the extended shows 81 Friday, 82 Saturday, and 85 on Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
The Sports Cubicle. Economics professor at Smith College, Massachusetts, Andrew Zimbalist.
When Chicago is approached, or Illinois is approached for new public funds to build yet another stadium, it shouldn't be, hey, this is going to be an economic boon for the city. It's not going to be. It should be, how much is it worth to us culturally to keep these teams here?
The Sports Cubicle with Mike Mercado, Devin Tingle, Dan Marver, and Paul Shivari. Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
Spina bifida is a common birth defect, and everyone with spina bifida from childhood through adulthood deserves to flourish. The Spina Bifida Association is creating a future where this is more than just possible. It's inevitable. We're advancing clinical care and shaping innovative research. With your help, we'll build the future that people with spina bifida deserve. Join us at sbaa.org. That's sbaa.org. This message is sponsored by the Spina Bifida Association of America.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hello. As a test, can you hear me?
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, of course, our number is 773-763-9278. And they tell me my name is Richard Chew, so thank you for being with us, everybody. Back in the spring, I had the honor to talk to two people that have been in this business of media and journalism for a long time. They're the real deal. They do it in front of the camera, behind the camera, on page. They're the real deal. Who am I talking about? Well, you guys remember back right before the White House Correspondents' Dinner, we had on Ian Cameron, who is a former ABC News producer, and Lisa Stark, who is a former ABC News reporter. I say that to give some a little bit of texture here in terms of the former versus what they are doing now, which is, as I've said, they will always be producers and always be journalists because they set the standard. They help set the standard for so much of what is good about our media and journalism right now. So I want to welcome back to the show Lisa Stark and Ian Cameron. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you guys. I'm gonna start with the big broad question that you guys can take and you can chew on it all you want. What the hell is going on right now when it comes to our overall media? I mean, specifically corporate media. I have watched the last couple of weeks some of the most unnecessary questions be asked by folks in front of the camera of politicians that I have ever really seen. Like, where did that come from? Where were you sitting and thinking, oh, I'm going to ask that question? Now, I get to be a radio host and do my show, and I don't seek perfection. I seek, getting better every day, and I work hard to try to ask good questions. But Lisa, you start with you, and Ian, you can pick up after that. What is causing so many of the on-camera reporters, journalists, to ask some of the questions of politicians that they're asking at this current time? Is it because we're coming up to a midterm election? Is it due to the different primary races and special elections, and they're just trying to get a sound bite or a clip? What's going on there?
Well, I think you have to remember the media is pretty fractured right now. So some of the questions that might be being asked might not be by traditional media, you might say.
Okay.
I do think that I think it's tough, I think part of it is the election. I think part of it is our media environment, where, as you say, you want to get that clip that's going to really zing on social media. It's going to attract a lot of attention. But I do think also there's just so many issues to discuss right now. It's if I were a reporter, it'd be a little hard to go, like, where do I go? There are so many things I want to ask. And it might be front and center that day in your mind. So I don't want to second guess these people. They're having really, really tough job right now, especially if they're questioning the president or any officials in the administration. But, as someone who's been in those scrums and those press conferences, it's sometimes hard to figure out, okay, what's the best question to get a decent answer today?
Okay, got it. Ian, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with Lisa. I would say that, first of all, the media and in this administration just follows this shiny object. And, Trump is nothing but a fire hose of clicks for news organizations. And as Lisa said, it's such a fractured media environment. You have online news organizations that are just looking for those clicks and will just publish whatever insane thing Trump says, will bait him, and will get traffic on their websites for it. And then there's, God love them, the what I would call traditional media that is trying to report on this administration and give Americans, the fair view of what's going on. And frankly, they have to really struggle to get their questions in, especially when we talk about the White House pool and the Oval Office, when we're asking President Trump questions. The New York Times is battling with fringe conservative online websites to get questions to the president. So it just leads to a real circus, frankly. At the same time, when you talk about corporate media is under pressure. They're under pressure by this administration. And although I still believe that doesn't filter down to the individual journalism level, there's no doubt that there's pressure for all journalists in this business right now.
I was at a wedding reception on Saturday, and a couple of the people that were there, were talking about my show and just more broadly, what do I watch, what do I listen to, et cetera. And I said, I try to get a little bit of everything because I want to try to get a flavor for what's being talked about, and maybe something I should stay away from until I have a little bit more information. I'm sure you probably had to have discernment as a producer and as a reporter. We don't have enough information to cover that right now. We'll get to it in a week or so or a day or whatever. So I articulated that there's certain things that I look at, there's certain things that I don't and listen to, and all the rest. I try to take it all in and then come up with, where I want to be on what I maybe want to talk about. And you as guest help that. But the one thing that was interesting is that one of the persons during this conversation said to me, Richard, I really like what goes on right now on Abby Phillips' show on CNN. And what are your thoughts about that? And then this is what I said, and this kind of goes to part of what you were just saying, Ian. I said, what I like about Abby Phillips is that, she does a great job of playing referee. Mm-hmm. And I think that I see a lot of that happening right now, is that oftentimes the host of a show in many cases is playing referee. And then they said, well, why do you think that's happening? I said, well, the pressure, coming back to what Ian was saying, from the C-suite to have people on that are going to generate a certain amount of controversy and back and forth seems to be where some of the corporate media is going these days. Am I way off in double left field, guys, or is that kind of what you're seeing as well? Lisa, you get the baton first.
I mean, look, Abby Phillips is a fabulous journalist, as you know, and she's spectacular. But her show, I think, is designed to be a little bit of a fist fight, if you will. And I think your indication of referee is a really good way to put it. And I do think it's unfortunately the environment we're living in right now. I mean, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when CNN started, and it was
so
a very traditional, news outlet with the reporter, stories and packages, and of course they would have guests on, and they would, their brilliance is they could be live at the drop of a hat, when the war started in the Middle East and all of that. And they're now competing with so many different shows that are also, in a sense, screaming at the viewer. And so I think you're right. I think as Ian said, it's somewhat about clickbait. It's about trying to, to get eyeballs, even as you are trying to discuss, and I'm not saying they aren't trying to discuss serious issues, but because they are, but they're doing it in a way which does make it look like, sort of a fist fight, if you will.
Yeah. Ian, what are your thoughts there?
Well, when I think about CNN, I think I'm old enough, so is Lisa, I think old enough to remember Crossfire, which was a classic liberal conservative debate. And it would end up, it devolved, frankly, into a real just shouting match between two political ends of the spectrum. And, CNN canceled it for that reason. Viewers got tired of it. Now we've sort of recreated that in Abby's show. The difference is, I think, as you say, Abby is a bit of a referee and tries to bring some sanity and instant fact checking to some of the guests. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, to CNN's credit, I guess they're one of the few of the cable stations that really tries to reach out to conservatives and Republicans to come on the show, as well as Democrats. But the problem is that and Abby finds herself in the situation. Everything you're shadow boxing so much with, especially. And I'm sorry, I have to single out Republicans who come on that show who sort of represent Donald Trump's point of view. You're arguing with nonsense. It's made up. And if you talk to people who are on that show and are in the green room with those guests, with those Republican MAGA guests, those MAGA guests often say that they're not serious about what they're saying on the air. Yeah. So it's entertainment, and it's sad, but that's really what. And it's not even clear that it really works in terms of audience numbers. CNN is struggling behind, both not only Fox but even MSNBC. So I am very sympathetic with programmers right now who are trying to navigate this political environment and finding the sweet spot for what audiences want. But boy, it's a real challenge. And Abby, I give her a herogram every day for refereeing that show.
Well, I'm glad that the three of us, two real journalists and a producer, and then me, I call you a journalist as well, Ian, but we all landed in the same spot with the first thing that came out of our mouth, which is Abby is a phenomenal journalist.
She is.
That's having to play referee right now. So, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about this lawsuit. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Paramount and the decoy playing. I'm trying to squeeze that all in. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chew. Keep it locked in. We'll be right back with more of Chew's Views.
A message from Tia Mowry, actress and Fair Celebrity Ambassador.
Game day isn't staged. It's lived. It's the shopping, the cooking, the laughter. For families managing food allergy, that same spirit of preparation means everything. Because food allergy isn't a lifestyle. It's a serious, life-threatening disease that can change everything in a moment. But being ready changes the story. It's knowing the signs, having a plan, and carrying epinephrine everywhere life takes you. Epinephrine is the only treatment that can stop a severe food allergy reaction known as anaphylaxis. It works quickly to reverse the symptoms and can save lives. As families and friends gather for the big game, we see what community looks like. It's one built on awareness, care, and love in action. Because readiness doesn't take away the risk. It brings back the joy. When you're ready to act, you're ready to live.
Visit foodallergy.org/ready to act to learn more.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
All right, guys, welcome back to Chew's Views. Thanks for being with us this morning. Ian Cameron and Lisa Stark are hanging out with us this morning. Two of my new favorite folks this year as it relates to journalism and the business, because they speak the truth, because they've been there. As I said, they've been in the mix and they know what's going on. And I appreciate you guys taking some time. I know our listeners all over the country appreciate what you've been through and what you stand for now. One of those things is this doggone White House Correspondents' Dinner. I say doggone, meaning I shouldn't say it that way. It's not doggone. It's the doggone president. A lot of words to throw at you guys on that. But talk to us about this. You guys once again said, all right, team, we got to push back on this this tragedy of the White House. Give us your thoughts, Lisa.
Whew. Where do Ian and I start? Ian and I have been working on trying to support, as former journalists, trying to gather other former journalists to support freedom of the press efforts almost a year now since the Jimmy Kimmel debacle, if you will, since Disney pulled Jimmy Kimmel off the air for a week. And when the White House Correspondents' Dinner was set and Ian and I knew that President Trump was coming, we thought, what are we going to do? Because we had a vision of what the evening might look like. And we had over 500 former journalists and 8 press organizations sign a letter saying, okay, the president's going to be there. He's going to be right up on the stage. Use your podium to speak out about what is wrong about how the administration treats the press. They chose not to do that. And I understand it was a difficult ask. You don't want to insult your guest of honor, but he insults the press all the time, and he certainly insulted them that evening. So all I can say is we raised our voices. We made our voices heard. It definitely created a buzz. And we understand the president has already been invited and has accepted for next year.
Wow.
So stay tuned. And Ian, I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think the White House Correspondents Association put themselves in a very sort of defensive crouch in response to our letter to them, signed by 500 journalists. I am sympathetic to the fact that the White House Correspondents Association is a large organization of journalists from all ends of the political spectrum. As we've said several times, our journalism is very fractured now. There are very small online organizations, influencers that are part of the White House Press Corps, and there's the traditional mainstream journalism organizations. And, to get consensus among all those members is difficult for any leader of the White House Correspondents Association. Having said that, if you're in the White House Press Corps, you believe in the First Amendment and you believe in freedom of speech. That is what gives you the agency to go into that Oval Office and report to the American people who trust you with that responsibility. And to me, I just, every time the White House Correspondents Association responds to pressure from organizations like ours, their response is, well, we have to work with this president. We cover him. We have to, and to me, that just continues this sort of road of sort of submission. Because once you start giving with this administration, there's no end to the asks.
And clearly that's the case because of the way in which, the Kimmel situation, I won't overstate the use of, that's a textbook way of dealing with this White House. But the American people, if you will, said, no, we don't like this, and we will show our power and let Disney know you all need to get your heads right on this one. You think that the president's going to cost you? We're going to cost you serious money.
Well, you know what, Richard? And I think that message in a sense got through because as Ian and I have indicated, we are thrilled that Disney has gone on the offensive now.
Right.
And is suing the Federal Communications Commission over its actions against Disney. I think Disney and Disney marshaled its viewers to send letters. Thousands, tens of thousands of comments have been made to the FCC about their attempt to thwart the show The View and their attempt to pull in 8 station licenses for early renewal. So I think, as I like to say, the mouse has roared, and I'm really, really glad that they are pushing back because, as Ian said, I think people discover if you give an inch, they take a mile.
There's no question.
So they are trying to push back, and we are delighted about that.
It's great to see, and listen, with regard to something like that situation and how it sort of set a little bit of a template. They've kind of got their sea legs, if you will. It's good to see that they are pushing back. I got to ask you guys something that came across my notifications and as it should, and that's the situation with the Pentagon and Stars and Stripes. And I'll let you guys lay out what's happened and what it means for this disruption to be taking place with Stars and Stripes.
Ian, you want to start on that one?
Yeah, well, Stars and Stripes is a really unique publication. I mean, it's funded by the Pentagon. Its employees are part of the Pentagon or Pentagon employees, the journalists there, but it has had full editorial independence from the Pentagon. And we're talking about a publication that was first published in the Civil War and has been published continuously since World War II. 1.4 million people in the military, civilians and service members see the Stars and Stripes every day. It plays a vital role in providing independent news for people serving in the military and military families. And so that's not good enough for this administration. And so starting last spring, they've slowly been chipping away at the independence of the Stars and Stripes. They issued an edict that they wanted to end the woke distractions of Stars and Stripes. They banned Stars and Stripes from running wire service news and comics. And then they fired the sort of ombudsman for the Stars and Stripes last spring. And then just a few weeks ago, they fired the editor-in-chief, their Middle East reporter, and their publisher, all for insubordination. So this is so tragic. I mean, it's phenomenal in this country that we have an independent news organization that exists within the military, and that whole culture is being torn up, and we're losing that independence that we've had for, as I said, back to the Civil War.
150 years plus.
And, there are lawsuits that have been filed, but sadly, this is moving so quickly that I worry that we'll ever get the Stars and Stripes back to where it was.
Well, and Lisa, take it from here on this, but it's from what I've been reading, the goal is to maintain or to take over editorial control and content. Am I right about that?
Right. I mean, that's certainly what it appears to be. They've appointed a new sort of assistant publisher or editor-in-chief who claims that the paper is going to remain independent. But, the people who were recently fired were fired for insubordination. What was their insubordination? Their insubordination was saying publicly that they work for the military and not for the Pentagon, not for the White House, that they're independent, and that a red line in the sand would be if the Pentagon says, oh, you can't run your article, you got to run our article. So that was their insubordination. So it's very clear, as Ian said, that this once incredibly amazing organization, independent newspaper, is something that the Pentagon is trying to put under its thumb and make sure that they don't report on things like the fact that people on the USS Lincoln who've been in the Middle East for, some
200 plus days,
whatever, how many days it is now, are suffering. They don't have enough to eat. They're psychologically suffering. So the paper reports that. The Pentagon doesn't like it.
No. You guys, it's always great to have you on. And when I prepare to talk to the two of you, I really want to make sure I have my ducks in order because you guys have done this for such a long time. But I appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us this morning. Ian, how can folks find you if they choose to say, what's Ian got going on in his world?
You can find me on social media. My handle is @EasyOut is the best way to find me.
Awesome. Lisa, same for you.
I'm an old-fashioned woman. I'm often on Facebook, and I believe it's @LisaStarkABC because I set up the account when I was at ABC News.
You got to get some new stuff, Lisa.
Sorry. I'm on X too, but that TikTok stuff. Yeah. I don't get that TikTok stuff.
That tickety-tock stuff. That's right. Ian Cameron and Lisa Stark. Always great to have you guys with us, and it's always a pleasure to take some time. Appreciate you both. Stay safe. Right. And keep up the great work that you've been doing, okay?
Richard, thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, right. Richard. Thanks very much.
All right. Talk to you both soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. Keep it locked in right here on Richard Chew. We'll be right back with more of Chew's Views.
Some journeys start small, with small pause and big purpose. Every great partnership begins with the first step.
Bella, let's go.
You don't just raise a puppy, you raise a future. Become a Dogs Inc. puppy raiser. Give a dog a purpose. Give someone hope.
Learn more at dogsinc.org.
Cats are masters at using up their 9 lives, like chasing laser pointers into walls or jumping onto high shelves. But the one thing cats never do? Text while driving. So be like a cat and protect your one and only life. Don't text and drive.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
People don't realize that glaucoma is one of the leading causes of blindness.
Because there are often no early symptoms, nearly half of those with glaucoma may not even know they have it until vision loss has occurred.
I was diagnosed with normal tension glaucoma in July of 2020. And what we found out at that point was I had already lost 40% of my sight. And you think it only affects people that are, 75 or older, retired, grandparents. And that's not the reality of it.
I didn't think at all glaucoma was going to affect me because I didn't know of anyone that had glaucoma, no one in my family. When you have glaucoma, you can't get back that sight that you lost. And so early detection and treatment is vitally, vitally important.
Don't miss life's most beautiful moments. Schedule an eye exam today.
National Glaucoma Research, a bright, focused foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Learn how to protect your sight at stopglaucoma.org.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm staff meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Lows level off around 58 overnight under mainly clear skies, south winds around 5 miles per hour. A blend of clouds and sun Tuesday, 80. Lows around 65 Tuesday night. Low 80s Wednesday and Thursday with a chance of thunderstorms Wednesday. A peek at the extended shows 81 Friday, 82 Saturday, and 85 on Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. For those that are just tuning in, make sure you are plugged into Live, Local, and Progressive with Joan Esposito. Today, her guest host will be Turi Ryder. And Turi's guest will be David Levine, a professor at University of UC Law in San Francisco. David Hochberg and Professor William Muck will be joining Turi. And tonight on Driving It Home, Paul Shavari will be in for Patty Vasquez. Co-host Ken Mejia Beal will be joining, and Paul Nolly, Illinois State Rep Diane Blair Sherlock, and Trey Savage will be joining those two this evening. But joining me this morning is one of those people, as I always say, we have fighting for people's rights. And I'm truly excited to have, once again, on with us, Attorney Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, who is, I give you these flowers, the leading immigration attorney in the country. And I'm so proud to have you back on the show. Kate, good to see you. How you been?
Hey, friend. I have been battling it down here in Texas. It's been a rough one. But
yeah, I know.
Hanging in there.
Well, the last time you were on, it was, literally one person was murdered by ICE in Texas. Mm-hmm. And you brought that to, I would say, national attention in many ways. And then in that same, within a couple of days, we had the shooting in Maine. And you had said something a few months ago that even though ICE wasn't as prevalent in the news, that ICE was clearly still doing the things that were causing problems and that were harming people's lives. And I think a lot of folks did not necessarily realize that. They were, again, this is the power of the media and the stories being, I just was talking with Lisa Stark and Ian Cameron about this, but we weren't seeing it. We weren't really even hearing about it. And I don't know how you have observed it since you were on the last time and how that's changed, if it has changed. But what's been your observation there?
Well, I'm sorry to say that August is a peak in terms of apprehensions and detentions nationally and certainly in Texas. And part of what's happening is that the last funding package that Congress passed, the $70 billion, is now starting to trickle down into these 287G agreements, which is the way that ICE is conducting apprehensions now. they've created these cooperative agreements, and 287G has something called a task force model agreement, where local law enforcement agencies, so think like the county sheriff's office or the city police department, or in Texas, the state troopers, signs this agreement, and then they receive massive funding from DHS that entirely pays for the sheriff's salary. And on top of that, pays bounties for the apprehension of human beings. And I've heard through some people that are looking at the data that they're being paid more for children. And so now what we have is this massive expansion of the police forces that are out there looking for people on the roads. And the thing is that these types of apprehensions are so much quieter. They're not raids. They're not loud, they're not visible. They just look like somebody being pulled over on the side of the road. And unless you're close to the family that's affected, you don't know that they've just been torn apart or disappeared. And then there are some things that break through. A case I'm working on this week of a little boy, another little 5-year-old boy who was detained by ICE, and somebody just happened to get a video of that. So people know about that case. But what's important, I think, for people to understand is that is happening multiple times a day on a daily basis, and we're not seeing it. And that's the part that really terrifies me, is how insidious and silent this has become. And we're just at the tip of the iceberg, because the funding from that package has only just started flowing down locally.
What percentage of that $70 billion, or do you know what the percentage of that or the dollar amount is that is going to more local law enforcement agencies?
That's a great question, and I will look into that. It's significant money. For example, I was talking to, there's a news shop in town called KXAN, and they're partnering with ProPublica to investigate this stuff. And they've done over 500 open records requests. So they've gotten just a ton of information. And there's this teeny little town in Texas that has maybe 2,000 residents. It's a 1 square mile town. Mm-hmm. And this town received $750,000 to enforce ICE. And they don't even have undocumented people residing, that many undocumented people residing in that 1 square mile. So it's frivolous money. It's just throwaway money on the part of the federal government. And the concern that I have, apart from the apprehensions that are having, is the long-term impact this is going to have from a budgetary reliance perspective. When you think about these small police departments whose job is policing, it's community relationships and community safety and policing. And now these sheriffs are going to get used to big salaries, big bonuses. The departments aren't going to need to be fundraised. The state of Texas is not going to have to fund policing on the same level. And there's going to be a reliance. And all of a sudden, local police are prioritizing immigration enforcement because it's in their financial interest to do so. And they can't lose that. They won't be able to lose that money. And so I think we're creating a monster through these agreements.
So, Kate, this is, I always think about, we identify the problem, we talk about it, we know, we do our best to try to find out the why, and then we put that out there, and then I go, okay, so how do we solve this, or how do we affect this? So is there, or will there be, do you think there will be an opportunity for any sort of legal recourse if a municipality is spending their time on what you just said, a quote unquote fake, immigration issues and unnecessary immigration work? And there's things that are happening in that community that are not being dealt with by the local law authorities, law enforcement. Will there be an opportunity? Will that be the standing, so to speak, that a community can take? Because while you were over here doing this, these things were happening to the negative of our community. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I mean, it does. And I think, complaints and litigation on the local level is one tool. And then, of course, nobody will be surprised to hear the main tool here is going to be the vote and the midterms. And The Texas legislature, for example, mandated that every county in the state with more than 100 residents cooperate in one of these 287G agreements. It was a law that the legislature
The state legislature said that the municipalities that have a certain population, they have to sign in, they have to buy into this.
That is correct. They must sign one of these agreements.
See, listen, y'all, I got to say this right now. I'm done with people saying that my vote doesn't count, because this is the through line. This is whatever. Dotted line turns solid. Your vote matters, because now the state legislature in Texas is telling your local officials that you voted for in your city, your community, that you got to sign this. The state legislature made it law that a local municipality has to sign a document, has to party with these folks to, rather than manage the safety of the community, well, let's go get young boys and girls and snatch them out of cars, or else there's a repercussion for that. Your vote matters. I just have to be preachy for a moment. Your vote matters, folks, because they're telling you, the legislature is telling folks in Texas that if you don't do this, we're going to cause you some harm. That's crazy.
It's crazy. And I think now, if there is a moment to preach, it's now. I'm starting to get a lot of notifications and emails about rallies and protests that are coming up. And we got about a good solid quarter before the midterms happen.
Right.
And now is the moment that we really start acting, if we haven't been already. It's summer's over, vacation's over. It's time to get out there and really start becoming more civically engaged than we have ever in our entire lives, because we are truly facing a descent into authoritarianism in this country. And we got to act.
I'm going to have some fun with you, Kate, and then we're going to take a quick break. Stop telling people summer's over. I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks. It's not over until the 21st of September.
Sorry. Down here, we started school in August. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, Illinois.
No. I'm just saying that for everybody in the country. Like, summer's not over yet. Don't buy into the hype just because kids got backpacks on and walking down the street, going to school and stuff. Summer's not over. We still got another 3.5, 4 weeks. So, but no, I wanted to put a little bit of laughter on this very, very difficult subject that we're dealing with right now. Kate, let's take a quick little break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that are happening in the positive way in terms of some bills that we may get through and with regard to Alex Preddy and all the rest. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu. Keep it locked in. We'll be right back with more of Chu's Views.
Many of our U.S. veterans and service members face challenges: mental health struggles, housing obstacles, employment, food insecurity, and social isolation, to name just a few. I'm Bob Woodruff. My family and I started the Bob Woodruff Foundation in 2006 after I sustained a life-threatening injury while reporting from Iraq. Our service members had my back that day, and we need to have theirs now more than ever. At the Bob Woodruff Foundation, we raise awareness about the tough challenges veterans and military families face and invest in solutions to help support them in the next chapter of their lives. And with one solution comes the next. We solve a housing situation, we increase employment opportunities. We solve employment problems, we address food insecurity. We solve food insecurity, we impact physical and mental health issues. Learn more about our work at bobwoodrufffoundation.org/success.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
All right, guys, welcome back to Chu's Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu, and I appreciate everybody being with us. Thanks to Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch for having some time to talk with us about her day-to-day and dealing with cases that where she's representing folks that are not represented, that don't have legal status and or support. You've got a couple of very specific ones that you're dealing with right now. Share with the audience. I think is it Liam Tadeo? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, that's a case I've been working on over the weekend. This is another little boy named Liam, another little 5-year-old boy. The first little Liam was the one from Minnesota and the blue backpack with the bunny ears. He went
Right.
totally viral. Same because there was it was a photo of him. This Liam lives in Austin with his mom and dad, and he last Sunday, not this Sunday, but the one before that, he and his dad went to play a soccer game. And they saw a bunch of this 287G DPS activity. They saw a bunch of cop cars, and they got pulled over. And in this case, it was ICE that pulled them over and came up to the window and didn't even bother to create a pretext for the traffic stop. They just immediately said, "What's your legal status?" So just complete racial profiling. And Dad Victor was honest and said, "I'm undocumented." And these ICE officers decided to detain Victor and Liam the day before Liam was supposed to start kindergarten. That next day, it was his first day of kindergarten. And they handcuffed Victor and put them both in the backseat of their patrol car. And Victor talked about the ride in the car where Liam, who you can see in the video, is distraught and crying and terrified. And he's sitting next to his dad, whose hands are handcuffed behind his back. He's unable to embrace his son, console his son in the car ride. And they're taken to the Dilley Family Detention Center, which is open and in full force. This is a jail for families that's here in South Texas, and ICE is filling it. And it's been a very, very difficult case because the danger that we face in cases like this is if we push and fight, the DHS can retaliate, and they can retaliate by separating the father and the son. And we've had this happen in other cases. And this is a family that's not willing to tolerate Liam being alone in the system. And so they're having to face the impossible decision of accepting a deportation because they don't want to risk Liam being separated from his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't get Liam released to his mom. DHS doesn't allow that. And it's been very frustrating because this is a public case. And so DHS is putting out statements. And they're lying, of course. They're saying that we offer the opportunity for parents to release their children upon apprehension, that people can come pick up children from the detention centers. That is not true. It does not happen. And in this case or other cases, Victor has been begging since the beginning to have his son released. We have members of Congress who would go and pick up Liam from the detention center, and they just don't do that. And when kids get transferred into this ORR, like unaccompanied migrant child system, they can be lost in the system for weeks or months. And it's just been a nightmare, complete nightmare for this family. I've been, at their house. It's something to behold that I think most people don't understand. No,
you're good.
When there is a sudden detention like this and a separation of a family like this, especially where there are small children, what the house feels like on the other side of that, especially at night. And for anyone who has experienced, a sudden unexpected death in a family or something, of a pet even, and there's just this like emptiness and this loud silence that occurs on the other side of it. That's what it feels like when these apprehensions happen. And I think anybody who lives in a family can understand that. Just close your eyes and imagine that your husband and your child go out to a soccer game and then they just don't come back. And you have no idea when or in what country you might be reunited.
One of the things that happens when it comes to a person that gets kidnapped or lost in the regular world of conversation around this is people, that is exactly what you said, how you described it in terms of this emptiness, that the loudness of the silence is there. And oftentimes, people keep fighting to find their loved one that's lost because they may know that the person's passed away. They're just looking for closure because that allows that emptiness to not go away, but it allows it to be closed so that you can try to move forward. And you actually even embrace their memory because now you know that that part of the life that you had with them is no longer there. And these families are not able to get that version, not that the child is dead or the father's dead, but just knowing where they are, so that can at least go, okay, they're still alive, they're still there. We just have to fight like hell to get them back. And it's inhumane. Mayor Johnson here in Chicago gets criticized for a lot of things, but the one thing he cannot be criticized for is lacking humanity for people. And he speaks to that most every time he talks. More of our leaders across the country, certainly on the left and the middle left, need to be speaking about the humanity of the lack of humanity that is there, particularly in a nation that likes to call itself a, quote, Christian nation. This is the farthest thing from being Christian, in my opinion. And if we're going to try to go down that path and say we're that kind of folk, then we need to start acting like, because this sure in hell is not, in my observation, acting like a Christian or acting with humanity at all. Take the numbers and the data and the money and all that off the table and just look at, is this humane way to treat folks?
Well, and I'll put the money back on the table and just share that the Core Civic and the Geo Group, which are the two largest private prison companies in this country that run the vast majority of these detention centers, both of them just held their quarterly shareholder calls because they have investors in these private prison companies. And they both posted massive profits, 15% growth, 27% growth, and together over $1.5 billion in profit in the quarter. Damn. In the quarter. And you think about what happens when two companies together are earning multiple billions of dollars in a year. They are investing in continuing whatever is enriching them through lobbying, kickbacks, relationships with Congress, all of that, the power wheel that starts to churn, the flywheel is really going. I mean, it's similar to these 287G agreements, the money that is involved in the detention of these children. So not only is it unchristian and inhumane to put a tiny little baby child in jail, but then you layer on that people are literally enriching themselves on the detention of these tiny children. It is so shocking to the conscience if you allow yourself to contemplate it.
Yeah, that's why I am one of your biggest cheerleaders in terms of making sure we all give you your flowers, because you are truly in the cauldron of dealing with this. Kate, if the Dems went back 2026 midterms, there's this conversation around the Alex Preddy Act. And then I tie this into Keith Ellison as we wrap up today in terms of his request for extradition, request for Greg Abbott in terms of the extradition of the ICE agent. Help us out here a little bit. Where are we in this? I know we got a little bit of time to talk about this as we wrap up.
Well, I mean, I haven't researched pending legislation. I will say just generally with pending or proposed legislation, I don't tend to get too excited until things move forward. And what my concern is that oversight is shrinking under the agencies. And so, for example, the FBI is no longer investigating ICE killings anymore. And when Lorenzo was murdered in Houston and Joam was murdered in Maine, neither of those ICE agents were wearing their body cams, and body cams were supposed to be part of the funding package. So then the response to that was, well, okay, ICE, go and complete this body cam purchase. And so they have, supposedly, but now ICE is saying, we're not turning over body cam footage unless, and this is a literal quote, it benefits the agency. So this is my concern, is that Congress might mandate oversight, but then the agencies slip that oversight away under the Trump administration. And we really, now they're spending $20 million on shock gloves. Did you see that headline?
Yeah, I did.
They have these gloves that shock people starting in March.
350 volts, is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it is just, it's a nightmare. And so I don't know what the pending laws are. I hope that they're good. I hope that they make it through. And I hope that they really have some actual teeth when it comes to oversight and public information and access to what's actually happening. Because ICE is responding to all of the pushback on Alex Preddy and Renee Good by going under the radar. They are slipping under the radar, and Congress is allowing it.
Yeah, Republicans in Congress right now have made it clear that humanity isn't really on their agenda. It's staying with these political memes about how we've got to get rid of the others and how they're taking away jobs. But at the same time, you take $20 million to buy some gloves that are stun gun gloves. How about taking that $20 million and retraining the agents? I mean, it seemed to me that'd be a much more effective way because you have a broader reach and more effectiveness. So it is a bunch of garbage to hear that they're going to spend even more of this money. But we tried to tell folks, I didn't say we tried, Kate. We told folks that we were going to go to this, where we were headed with a Republican Congress that's been voting like they have been voting when it comes to ICE. And any leader, Republican, Democrat, or Independent, in my mind, that doesn't say that ICE needs to be abolished. The reform part, I mean, you and I may disagree on the nuts and bolts of that. Reform, why do we reform a group that's doing this kind of work? They need to be gone, and we need to let the local law enforcement do what they need to do rather than become the additional paid, staffers of ICE. So, Kate, always good to see you. Good to hear from you. And as sobering as the conversation may be, it's a reality check for all of us to know that these things are happening. But we've got a fighter in you that's making it happen to represent the people and bring to us the real truth of what's going on. So thank you so much for that. And you guys know by now how to follow Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. You can Google her name, but make sure you not only follow her, but you send her a note of thank you for the hard work that she's putting in to represent people that are underrepresented. So thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Richard. It's good to be here again.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye now. All right, guys, listen. I said earlier in the show where I stood on a couple things with regard to this situation with ICE, but more importantly, where I stand right now when it comes to the situation with Congressman and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. I think that was a decision that should have been made differently in terms of the better use of his time. Maybe, as someone said to me, he was using it as an opportunity to get some information on Jared Kushner to then be able to use that in congressional hearings once the Democrats take back the House. But be that as it may, I think from an optics standpoint and a momentum standpoint, people are talking about it now as something that he should not have done. And is he really down with the Democratic Party? I believe that he is. I believe in my heart that he is. But I think that the judgment right now that he used in having that meeting with Kushner wasn't the best of. So we need to help him understand that that's not where we need to be right now. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to our guests, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, Ian Cameron, Lisa Stark, Tom Moore. Follow all of them, guys, because they bring us information that we need to know every single day. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember to take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no. So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn.
Maybe it was a family vacation or a school field trip. But there you were, standing in awe at a national park. We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Today, tomorrow, forever. Donate at nationalparks.org/foundation.
It's the most wonderful time of the year at Staples. They've got back-to-school supplies as low as 25 cents, up to 40% off select tech, and more at staples.com/back-to-school. Staples, that was easy.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The U.S.-Canada trade war is deepening. Sources tell AP Canada will announce retaliatory tariffs Tuesday. Julie Walker reports that follows President Trump declaring Canadian leaders need to fall in line or they'll face far worse.
In a post threatening a 50% tariff on cars, auto parts, and steel starting next year, on top of the 50% he began imposing on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods Saturday. In response, Canada vowing to retaliate with its own 50% tariffs on U.S. goods, including steel, dairy, and clothing, starting September 8th. Vice President J.D. Vance, dumping in Maine.
Canada allows itself to be used as a backdoor for Chinese goods.
We have all we need right here.
Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Building at home and diversifying our trade abroad. That's not plan B. It's been our plan A from the start.
I'm Julie Walker.
The U.S. has announced new sanctions on Iran, warning other countries to sever financial ties. In Nevada, crews have 27% containment on that wildfire near Reno, and in Worcester, Massachusetts, remains found near a hospital are believed to be those of a woman sought in the killing of her police officer husband.
Observing a deceased body in the woods.
Worcester Police Chief Paul Saucier says a final ID was pending.
We believe this person to be Karen Solomon.
Kurt Solomon had served 31 years with the Worcester Police Department, while his wife Karen was the co-founder of First Help, a nonprofit that advocates for the mental health of first responders. She was seen on doorbell camera footage on August 18th, walking down the street just minutes after police found Kurt Solomon's body at the couple's house, mortally injured with a sharp object. Investigators say a handgun was found near Karen's body, and it was not a Worcester Police Service weapon.
We believe this case is a tragic murder-suicide.
Audio courtesy WCVB. I'm Jennifer King.
This is AP News. In Santa Clarita, California, don't be alarmed if you hear this.
The grunts and hoots come from the gibbon, one of the rarest and most critically endangered primates on Earth. And the Gibbon Conservation Center north of Los Angeles has been rescuing gibbons for more than 50 years. Director Gabby Scholar tries to explain when gibbons vocalize, like when they're playing, but she can't seem to get a word in edgewise.
There are different calls that have different meanings. So this is their territorial song, and it can change during their lifetime. Like the young ones sing a female part.
The center cares for about 40 gibbons across 5 species. Scholar's long-term goal is to raise more money to build larger enclosures and build an education center for visitors. I'm Donna Warder.
More on this story at apnews.com. I'm Ben Thomas. Thanks for listening.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm staff meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Lows level off around 58 overnight under mainly clear skies, south winds around 5 miles per hour. A blend of clouds and sun Tuesday, 80. Lows around 65 Tuesday night. Low 80s Wednesday and Thursday with a chance of thunderstorms Wednesday. A peek at the extended shows 81 Friday, 82 Saturday, and 85 on Sunday. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Hey, Max, you look sharp in that purple tie. Ready to harness the world as a guide dog?
You bet, Daisy. And your purple service dog vest really pops against your shiny fur.
First day on the job for both of us. We've got this, right?
You bet. Dogs Inc. trained us well.
Ready to make a difference for our humans?
Born ready.
Discover how extraordinary guide and service dogs change lives at no cost to the recipients. Visit dogsinc.org.
1 in 10 people age 50 and older in the U.S. have early age-related macular degeneration.
Because macular degeneration often has no early symptoms, many don't know they have it until irreversible vision loss has already occurred. Well, when I first found out that I had macular degeneration, it was really scary. I mean, my eyes are my living.
What's most important for me to see? My family, my loved ones, my pickleball game. Everything I do is dependent upon my vision.
Being able to see, be able to spend time with my children, be able to travel is extremely important. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have my vision. Don't miss life's most beautiful moments.
Schedule a comprehensive eye exam to protect your sight.
Macular Degeneration Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Go to stopamd.org to learn more.
Don't let biased algorithms or degree screens or exclusive professional networks or stereotypes. Don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make stars part of your talent strategy at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.